You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.
Welcome to Line Noise. This week we have another very special guest, someone who I've wanted to talk to for a while actually. Sasu Ripatti, who is a Finnish electronic musician of rare calibre and breadth. He's recorded as Luomo, Sistol, Conoco Ripatti, and most famously as Vladislav Delay, whose new album Isoviha is released at the end of July. We talk about that new album. We talk about the great Roth. We talk about rap music. We talk about jazz drums, fatherhood, Sly and Robbie, all kinds of things. I really hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed doing the interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. It's an absolute pleasure. And congratulations on the new album. And I told you my Finnish pronunciation is going to be terrible, but Isoviha?
Works for me, yeah. Totally. Isoviha. Isoviha is how I would say it, yeah.
Isoviha.
Uh-huh.
So it was recorded 4 years ago, right? Why sort of the delay in actually coming out?
Well, not because of my choice at all. Well, it's hard for me anyway to interview about something I made 4 years ago. And I mean, I've done since few albums and I'm working on now something else. So my mind is elsewhere. And I think it would be unfair if I didn't speak what's on my mind. So basically, I'm starting my own label because none of this makes any more sense to me. This is fully all respect to labels, not only Planet Mu, but all the labels I've worked with. But I understand what they're doing and why they're doing. But for myself and my situation as an artist and how, low key everything is and whatnot, I have to find a different way. And next time if we ever are gonna have a talk about album, it's been quite recent or as recent as possible. Nowadays, I now finished first album for the label, and I had to finish it almost 1 year before to have the vinyls and whatnot. The whole. So it's still not fresh stuff, but this is extreme. I think the pandemic and I don't know, things are just different. And one label wanted to release 2 of my albums, and I understand they wanted to, wait that there's space enough that you want to talk to me again. And so that's basically, I guess, all those things.
So the new album is influenced by the heightened anxiety you feel when you return to the city from the sort of nature, from the wilderness. What made you decide? Sorry?
Well, that's press release talk, but it's not so straightforward. But I've been spending long times in the wilderness, and I know what it feels like there. And where I live and work is also, I guess, for 99% of the population, is quite remote and wilderness already. So just from this vantage point, what I feel in urban environment or what's going on in the modern world, all that, not when I return, but just constant observation. As much as I try, I can't fully escape it, especially when traveling and so forth. So excuse me, I interrupted. So
no, that's good. I mean, I was really interested in what made you decide to capture that emotion in your music, because it's a difficult emotion. I think that comes across.
Yeah, I don't really, or often I don't premeditate these things. And I guess longer I do these things, if something wants to come through, I really kind of celebrate that and don't really question. Often it's more like afterwards, like, well, what happened? And, all these things like, so no, in this case, there were no, I guess I can analyze and I can speak about it afterwards, but I'm not very theoretical artist at all. I'm not interested in mixing that even in my workflow. I guess I'm a little bit even worried if I would be even slightly theoretical. So when I work, it's just pretty much pure emotion and musical things. And when this material started happening, I had done something before those two Rakka albums, and I guess the principal question is what next, where to go, what can happen now within my means and my interests. And I try to work more and more intuitively. I just really, I know how to trigger myself to try things and start working on something, and I pretty quickly sometimes can see like, this makes sense and this is what happens, and maybe that never happened before, and then I really like, okay, close the world and just really go for that space and see what happens, and often come back with something to hold to.
Do you ever
makes sense?
It does, yeah. Do you ever re-listen to your work when it's done, or are you more of the school that when it's done, you're moving on to the next thing?
Yeah, I really don't revisit my stuff unless it's when I play live, and that's always the kind of face check. And I think the material I play more and more, it tends to be stuff I have not released yet, and it's still living. So when I play live, it's more to test how something might feel in front of people when I'm not on my ego trip here alone. And so no, I don't revisit my stuff at all. I don't find any pleasure in it, and it's quite often. I mean, I've had to listen enough everything I've done that I think I learned the lessons from them, and that's definitely what I think it's something I have to do and I want to do. But when that's done, I have no interest in that stuff. I don't, it just doesn't really. Yeah, I guess I'm quite focused on what I'm doing at the moment, and I have just other ideas, and they do feel all quite just, maybe because I have exhausted myself in that sphere. I really don't. I'm not interested in it anymore to spend more time in it, I guess. Unless it's very rare moment, like something very old, 50, 20-year-old stuff I have not heard for a decade or longer, and then I happen to hear it in a weird, room or situation, and that can be quite like, wow. It's so detached already. I don't really much feel or hear it as my own, and that's nice when you can hear your own stuff as an outsider, but that takes really long time and distance, and also I think skill. It's definitely something I'm working more and more, trying to be able to detach myself from the material I'm working on, so to be able to hear it as someone who hears it for the first time or new. I think that's one of the Rubicon secrets. It's definitely I'm quite certain about the value of that, and trying to think how to, or practice how to be able to do that faster and more efficient. And
I mean, I'm fascinated by someone like yourself who has so much music under so many different names going back many years. How do you view your music? I mean, do you have a particular view when you look back on everything you've done? Are you happy? What emotions do you feel?
Well, when it comes to music, and I guess more or less everything, I guess I'm not like a glass half full type. I really, first of all, I try not to just too much pay attention to it. But again, I try to look. I definitely don't see it as work or career, but it's something that means to me so much that I definitely try to not do stupid stuff. And one way is to learn from your stupid mistakes. And I definitely pay attention what I'm doing, and trying to do the right thing for me as a person / artist. But it's a shit show in the end. Like when I look at any period, I've been such a mess at the time. It's just random. Like I had no control, like real control over things at all. I just stuff happened, and I had lots of love and passion for music, and that was always the aim. But I mean, it could have been so many different things, and it's still like, I mean, I see it as life. I don't see it as, something I've been doing, or like there's maybe like period before my daughter was born and period after that, where I was just before quite egoistically, just, narcissistically, just, got lucky early and just could do what the fuck I wanted and just, not pay any attention to anything. And music business was going and all that stuff. So that was maybe the spoiled period, if you make me look back. And then came the music industry going away, and I burned myself pretty bad with drugs and alcohol, and I had to really just in so many ways to get my shit together. And my daughter was born, and I guess that was then something like a sober period or like a grown-up period. But both times I was just doing as much music as I could within the means. I guess early part, I was so out of it and really not focused that I guess I just wasted tons of stuff on such useless, But I have no regrets on that. And then the later part, I guess, doing the adult life really took lots of effort to, care for my family. And I kind of put music on the side that it never, that was definitely not the hedonistic period. And funny enough, I think now, 3 days ago, our daughter moved away. So I guess we are looking now at the third period. I don't know, yet unnamed, but yeah. I guess I'm happy. First of all, fortunate to be able to have been, I never done anything else in music, and I still love it enough to, or I'm pretty crazy about it to not have to question what I do. And I start to see some growth or some sense in it, and I feel more, maybe less worried when things don't work, because I just keep putting effort and things you just can't control, or you can't just, have to accept. I do what I can. I put quite a high effort almost always in, and rest, what can you do?
I'm interested.
Yeah, you go forward.
I'm interested in your experience as a father making music. I've got 2 children. I don't make music, but I try to sort of expose them to good music, which they often don't like at all. Does your daughter like your music?
I think she respects my music. She wouldn't listen to it, especially right now. She's 16 and she has really we share lots of musical taste, and but no. My partner played her, I think, something like Entain for every night for 2-3 years when she was young. So I think she don't need to listen more my music anymore ever. But I guess that's the answer.
And has having a daughter made you appreciate other music you might not listen to because it's kind of entered through it's entered through someone else's tastes, and you see what someone else is enjoying, someone who's very dear to you? Has it opened your ears to other things?
Yeah, somewhat. I guess, because of her and me driving her to her, because we live so remote, I have to drive hours every week her to do her ballet lessons. So we spend time in the car, and she plays me music, and I think I started to appreciate some of that stuff more than I maybe would have arrogantly being my own self somewhere alone, skipping Spotify. But I love pop music, and but she definitely brought stuff to my attention I would have not found on my own. So yeah,
Well,
and maybe because it's my daughter, I maybe give it more than a fair chance sometimes. So that plays a role, but that's maybe not the right way to do things. But it is what it is.
one of the reasons I asked about this was because on the recent album you did as Ripatti, Fun Is Not a Straight Line, it was influenced by footwork and also by rap music, which you've loved for years, but I don't think, I mean, for me, it didn't feel like that influence particularly came out in your music. And then it did. I mean, why do you think this new old influence came out?
Sorry, what do you mean new old?
In terms of
not sure.
rap music, which is something you've liked and listened to for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
On Fun Is Not a Straight Line, that influence came out, and it hadn't come out in your music before, as far as I could hear. Why do you think it took so long for that to come out?
Well, I mean, there's too many answers pop up simultaneously, but at least one important thing I think is, I think anything I really love dearly, and especially if it's something like coming from other cultures, I'm very hesitant to go fuck around with it. Reggae, jazz, rap music, African, like a Cuban, like I have always loved it, and I have studied most of it, Brazilian music also, and I know a lot about it, but I still like something like dub techno is like, I just all like whatever. Even like trying to do jazz, it has really weird thing for me. And rap, I mean, of course, the album you mentioned is not rap, but that came from just sampling. I mean, I've been throughout years, I've been doing different kinds of kind of whatever dance music or rhythmic music, and it was always more for me to do whatever vocals and pop and hooks over, which I did with Luomo, of course, but also early in the beginning with Ripatti also. But I just got bored of sampling, trying to find more, vocal hooks, and mainly it's like female R&B, and it just started to just be boring. And I was wondering what next and where and how, and yeah, it just happened that like rap things started to sound quite interesting sampled, and that just really took me quite. I spent so much time on just trying to look for that stuff and also having fun with it. But yeah, it's I really don't want to use any more synthesizers as a sound source. And anyway, I basically don't want to, as much as possible, not use any more, things I've used for so long time. So also trying to force something else. And for example, now with the album that I'm kind of excited now about is my own label release in maybe October or November, and that's pretty mad stuff. And that sampling has gone then like, yeah, well, it's not rap anymore for sure. It's but you or I at least it's I'm super happy when things excite me, and when I really I physically can't do things I've done before. Like I somehow just my body just goes limp. It's no use trying. Like I start hating myself, and just terrible things go on. So when I'm done with something, it's like that's one thing I don't want to do again ever. It's like one way or another. I mean, there's some, of course, if it's a lineage of some concept I have, I will follow, but not in that way. That's just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like none. So you then like, it's also like, I don't want to force and artificially like, let's find next gimmick. That's bad. And I'm aware of the risk that it probably looks like, oh, he's just fucking around with, taking next thing and like looking at trends, and fair enough. But like for me, there needs to be musical meaning and this inspiration. It has to inspire me, and then I don't care anymore. I have so much fun in that process that, it's worth everything. There's no need to question it. Like, that's what
you mentioned reggae.
And it takes something new, and it takes something new, and that new needs to be found organically or naturally. So it's longer I do, I guess harder it's becoming, or I guess I start doing soon indie pop or something. It's
You mentioned reggae, and what was it like as a drummer working with one of the best rhythm sections ever in the history of music in terms of Sly and Robbie? I mean, was that intimidating? Was it? Yeah, what was it like?
Well, I mean, yeah, like you said yourself, it's just wicked, wicked stuff. It's I'm a huge fan, and I'm not really a fanboy, but I really got along with Sly and Robbie well, and it was really many years of really great stuff, especially live. For me, the reason to join that kind of jazz / reggae, whatever, fusion thing, was that I was able to play with these people I admire and can learn from them. So yeah, I think the maybe the best thing was seeing Sly having done, like, I don't know, zillion reggae and dub records, hearing all the dubs, but he always plays them dry. And then, King Tubby goes and and then he hears like, oh, funny. But now he plays through my things, and he's like a kid in the Christmas time. Like, he's just like, he can play to my delay lines, and he never had done that before. And I don't think many, it's not so common, but that just made almost more or less any music bearable. I just had lots of fun to just play with that master, with having this dialogue. And he's really, really good. I'm really impressed by him also his musical. A bastard is listening 3 different tracks, not sync, but like different tempo, different style. He listens them 3 at the same time and like keeps them all organized in his mind. That's pure madness. Like, I don't know how he does it, but
I wanted to ask about drumming again, because you are a jazz drummer and you worked with Moritz van Oswald, who's also has a background as a drummer. What was it like as a drummer, being the drummer for another drummer? I mean, was it because obviously he can play drums very well, and you're playing drums for his musical projects. Did he give you free rein to play what you like? Did he sort of get involved, or what?
Yeah, it was fully. I mean, I changed my setup really. I'm how many years we played, but I had probably 30 different sets, and from first set on, I started it was for me quite interesting, and also in the end with Max together to develop this kind of whatever fusion of metal or kind of percussion-ish thing with effects and electronics combined, and using contact mics and using more or less traditional things, but making them sound out of somewhere completely else. So, but yeah, Moritz, he was just, yeah. I don't think I'm artist or player that somebody hires as a session, do this or this or this, because I just don't enjoy that, and I probably that wouldn't sound so good. So usually they always ask me to just fit in, and but I never thought of him being a drummer. I think I never even heard him play drums. So I have respect for him as a person and as an artist. If he plays drums or not, that plays I don't think he played any role. I don't think I even acknowledged that part there. Or even though we nerd about drums together, something, just talking or whatever, but no, easy. But I also never saw myself playing drums. I think Tony Allen played drums, definitely, and the other guy before him, but I it's pretty far from drums or even drumming. It went for me into very nice direction with something like, I guess somebody would say, like people doing Beaches Peru would do nowadays. Just, explore and go someplace with what's available now. And it was fun.
If I might ask a very nerdy question, who are your favorite drummers?
Kenny Washington, he's probably definitely one of my favorites, and Brian Blade, jazz drummer also.
Is there something that unites what they do that you particularly like in them?
But Kenny Washington is like a walking history book. He has studied more jazz drumming since it started than anybody. He's like a walking encyclopedia and history book, and he can mimic. That's nerdy stuff, but he can mimic different players and styles, like Evil. Well, like it's spooky, but he also then can play his own style, and it's just, for me, it's like the high end of style. And when you speak of staying in the like, let's say 50s, 60s idiom, that's he can do that better than anybody. And then Brian Blade, I really like his ability to play with Wayne Shorter and play with whatever, Bob Dylan, and kill it both ways, like mega bad. And he's really dynamic player. I like that he's a little bit. I'm really bored of most of the time when people play or produce, but he, for example, he surprises me. He does things that I would not expect, and they take me off, and I really thrive in that. So he does that, and also super good style, good taste in sound, and it's a master. But there's so many, like I don't know, different genres and stuff, but then it's like, you see better than that, and it's that, like, more valuable. Like I don't want to, I enjoy so many drummers. It's better that like that.
Going back to the new album, the name Isoviha means the Great Wrath, and refers to a time in Finland under Russian occupation in the 1700s, which is sadly, more relevant in the current world than it should be. But what can you tell us about that period, and why did you decide to call the album that?
Well, I think I wrote down Isoviha in my memo book maybe at least 10 years ago, because I wanted to work with that, but I guess it took a while for me to even be comfortable to work with that. And it also, like, you don't want to make pretty pop songs and call it that, so now it kind of finally, they met, but it definitely wasn't politically made album. Like I said, it's more just observation of the world, but right now the world seems to be also including war blatantly in my next country almost. And that made me, I had decided the album, had done the track titles, everything, and then the war started. But because there was such a long wait, I think I finished the album 2 years ago, like wrapped it up, or a year and a half ago. So when it happened, I kind of started revisiting the thing, and where we live, this island, there's just this sad case that when this Russian occupation happened, they wiped out the population of the whole island, like a couple of thousand people, and just left one couple here to bury all the rest. And you can still go to cemetery, and it's a long time ago. On the other hand, it's not so long time ago. People don't like Russians here particularly. But I used to love Russians in Russia, and I can't say it has changed, but the way what's going on now, I just have to, I don't want to think about the whole thing, but I have nothing to do with Russia now. But yeah, it's just crazy that it repeats itself. And I just couldn't help but just point it out or whatever. Just bring it in the mix or something like that.
I mean, I think I didn't know the history before, but when I heard about it, I think it works as an album title because it's an album in which you can feel pain and you can feel discomfort and you can feel, it's anything but a sort of easy song or easy collection of songs to listen to. It's quite disturbing at times.
I wonder what you think of my next album.
Is it even more disturbing?
Well, it's more fun also, but it definitely brings more gear in one way or another. It's faster.
Faster, okay. I just want to ask one more thing, if I can. It's been a real pleasure. But this is something I like to ask people who have, as I said, done loads and loads of music. But if you had to play someone, let's say my mum, like one song to explain what it is you do, what would it be? Is there one you could choose? I mean, if because I'm sure you meet people who they ask what you do. You say you're a musician. And like, well, what do you make? And it's like,
I think it really. I would strongly guess that it would depend on my mood. Then, if I would be irritated or if I would be more welcoming, or it's my. No, absolutely no disrespect to your mom, but if my middle finger is up or not, it's that's depending how they ask or how my day has been. But accordingly, I would play.
She would be very respectful, I'm sure. I'm sure she used to be a teacher, so
Then I would probably play something from the forthcoming jazz quintet I'm working on.
Okay,
some nice ballad.
And that's not the record that's out in October, right? There's something else.
Yeah, I think that's going to be released only 24 spring or something.
Okay.
There's a bunch of other stuff before.
Well, I look forward to hearing it. And thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure. Apologies for my strangled Finnish attempts at pronunciation.